Podcast is proudly powered by Battle-Born Batteries. Let the power of lithium take you on your journeys across the outdoor world. Battle-Born Batteries designs and assembles the industry's top choice for lithium-ion batteries right here in the USA. Reliable, safe, and long-lasting, Battle-Born makes for the sustainable and lightweight drop-in replacement for traditional lead-acid batteries. Ready to make the switch to lithium and the switch to green energy? All batteries are in stock now. Shop today at battlebornbatteries.com.
What is up, everybody? Good evening to you all. Welcome to Lines In Live. My name is Justin Patrick. I'm your host, and we are powered by Battle-Born Batteries, presented by Primary Tackle. Guys, thanks for tuning in to another Lines In Live episode. We're going to have a great time tonight. Got a really cool show lined up for you. Doing things a little bit differently tonight. Got a couple of guests coming on. A couple of familiar faces. You guys know who they are, so no need for a proper introduction. But Adam Reiser is going to be coming on. Both of these guys, we just wrapped up the Tennessee BASS Nation Kayak Series with the state championship on Chickamauga, and both of these guys, fished in this championship. Adam Reiser, who placed third, he's going to be coming on and talking with us about the benefits or the value of finding how and the reasons to finding that right type of grass on the Tennessee River and really any kind of where this time of year and in late fall or in fall. David's not with us tonight. Got my buddy Brandon Palmer. We're gonna add him to the stream here. He's gonna be co-hosting with us tonight.
What's up, buddy? I made
it. You're here.
I made it.
Yeah, so you had to download the Chrome, huh?
Yeah, it threw a curveball right at me, man. I clicked on the link and it said, "Oh no, your Mac doesn't support that," which is odd because I just spoke to you on this same device.
Yeah,
about, I don't know, 5 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Odd, man. These computers, I swear, they just do what they want sometimes. It's the updates. If you don't get the update or whatever, it throws everything off. But so Brandon Palmer from Little Miami Outfitters Proteus Rods, he's joining and co-hosting with me tonight. So man, I appreciate you jumping on, taking the place of old David for the afternoon. David's actually away for his daddy's 75th birthday. Man, between me and you, dude, I hope I make it that long in life. No sound. Still a couple technical difficulties, but anyway, so happy birthday to David's dad. We'll miss him tonight, but like I was saying, we got Adam Reiser going to be coming on for about 20-30 minutes talking to us about locating that right type of grass, and then Jordan Marshall is going to be joining us to talk about his or another victory to add to his his bag of victories, but his Tennessee BASS Nation State Championship title. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. What's up, Brandon? What are y'all? You messaged me over the weekend, said it's blazing hot up there where you're at in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was a bit muggy. There, and then I went down south to Kentucky and got a hold of some better weather. And then when I got back home late Sunday, as soon as I stepped out of the truck, it was a lot different than what it was down south. Like,
Yeah.
It was a lot muggier up here. It was awful.
Oddly enough, it's been a little bit cooler here in the South, but we had some kind of rain clouds coming in and out over the past week. Some good cloud cover. I mean, it was very welcome. But then in proper fashion, on Saturday and Sunday, the day of the tournament, bright bluebird sky days, no wind, the whole shebang. Saturday morning was a little bit of a different story. I mean, we had some cloud cover that lingered on for a while. I guess it was the tail end of that, that frontal system. And the bite was pretty fire in the morning, dude. I mean, you and I talked, I told you the story, but I hooked into the fish of a lifetime that just eluded me in the last 3 feet of the fight, so he lives to fight another day.
Wow.
But
first fish.
Yeah. First bite of the morning. Riser, he had a 24 and a half, I believe. So I'm looking forward to hearing how he caught that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, we're going to take a quick minute to talk about today's product of the week from Primary Tackle.
Hey guys, for this week's product of the week, we're going to talk about Hobie kayaks, or kayaks in general. I mean, look, we've got the best selection we have had in 2 years. We got any kind of kayak you could want. You guys need to come get them while you can, though. So, I mean, everything from like Lynxes and Compasses and Outbacks to trailers. We've got Tennessee trailers. Got several really cool Tennessee trailers in stock. New Canoe, Hobie. Look, this one's getting ready. It's getting gone tomorrow. It's already bought and paid for. So you better come get them while you can. We even put a mat kit in this one for him. So come get it.
Getting gone, man.
Come and get before the getting gets gone.
Getting gone. I love it. So I want to make a real quick announcement. You guys are probably going to be seeing this a lot throughout the social medias, but you're going to hear it here first. So I'm kind of releasing a little bit. We have the rights to go ahead and release this information, but Hobie is actually going to be running a sale on some of their kayaks. And it's not going to be every single dealer in the country. So check with your dealer to see if they're going to be running a sale. But S.Y. Wilson and Company will be a part of this sale. And I'm going to read you guys. I have the deals here. So with the Mirage Outback, it's going to be $300 off MSRP. The Compass is going to be $250 off. Passport 12 and Passport 10 and a half. On the 12, it's going to be $200 off. And on the 10 and a half, it's going to be $175 off. And we will be up at S.Y. Wilson on September 10th between 12 and 4 p.m. doing kind of like a kayak demo day. We'll have the Hobie crew out there. Myself and possibly Matt Skelton, the other Hobie team members with S.Y. And we'll be answering questions, showing you our boats, how we have them rigged up and whatnot. So get out there if you're interested in getting one of these great boats. Now is the time to jump in on a really good deal. And dude, that Outback's got me thinking about it, man.
Yeah, I was thinking about it this weekend when I bought that crappy $300 Walmart kayak just so I could fish.
Yeah,
I was like, man, it'd have been really nice to have an Outback.
Yeah, I really want the Lynx for like creek fishing and stuff like that. But I've always wanted an Outback, man. I think I could possibly get away with an Outback, doing stuff like that. Just a little bit smaller of a boat.
Yeah.
But, so Adam's in the house, man. We're going to get him jumping on. We're going to get him on here real quick. Talk to him.
Let's do it.
Hey,
How
good
you doing,
evening,
sir?
Mr. Riza.
I just made it in time. I thought I was going to be late. I was getting caught up in traffic, so I think I just made it here. Y'all hear me okay? Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So you said you were in rush hour traffic, man. I thought you fished for a living.
No, I wasn't even work. I just had to go downtown to run some errands, and I live like 30 minutes outside of downtown now, and just hitting some last of the rush hour traffic in Nashville. And
yeah,
you never know, it could take like twice as long to get here, but I made it in pretty good time. I had a little lead foot going on there, but I made it.
Well, I would have felt crappy if you picked up a speeding ticket to come and be on the show.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time.
Anything for fishing.
Yeah, right.
Well, man, I'm glad you made it, dude. Congratulations to you on third place in the state championship. Heck of a finish.
Thank you.
And I definitely I want to kind of kick a little bit off here, man, and hear about your big fish that was unfortunately beat out on day 2, dude. What was that all about?
Crazy. I know. I think me and others were saying that if you would have taken a poll amongst the anglers at that tournament on Saturday, like, hey, well, that 24 and a quarter fish that I caught, is that going to be beat? Would have said no. I feel like if we were in the springtime on Chickamauga, like that's not a bad bet to bet that would be beat. But I didn't think that was going to be beat, and especially based on a lot of the other catches that you were seeing there, at least on Saturday. But sure enough, there's no shortage of big ones and no shortage of angler talent. And in this case, it's in the form of Ewing Minor, and he caught him a big one, and he deserved that one too. Like he caught it out of a hole in the grass on a spinning rod. So if you can land that fish, you very well deserve it. But I got my big fish check for the club portion on Saturday, so I didn't get completely robbed of it.
Okay, so how did you do in the TVKA?
I got second. Garrett Johnson won that one. He won that one basically frogging in the dark, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
But yeah, he got me about a quarter inch on the club tournament. Yeah, so even with a big old 24-inch fish, that doesn't mean you're gonna have it all wrapped up when it comes to Chickamauga. So, but I couldn't believe that those big ones are getting caught like late August. August, September, like that is not big fish time. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I know. Well, I don't know if you heard before you jumped on, man. I hooked into one, first thing Saturday morning too, and it was my
Colorado
best.
Blade spinnerbait. Is that the one that?
Yep.
Oh my gosh,
dude. I mean, the bass started busting, like, those buffalo carper stuff were busting pretty early. And it's a little weird. I mean, I always get thrown off with the time frame when we're out east, just because back here we're an hour behind. So I was sitting in the dark for a minute. I was like, man, can I even? Oh yeah, I can start fishing. And man, that once the bass started busting, I heard one of just that industrial toilet bowl flush, just gulf of a fish, just annihilate something on the surface. I was like, that's a big one. Gave it a couple of seconds, threw over there, just thump, and just loaded up. And the fight, commenced. It dove into the grass too, because it was out on the main river, 2 feet of water, before it got to the grass. It got down the grass. I was pulling it out of it 3 feet from the boat, man. It just, I did one of these numbers, I had the rod to the right and I adjusted it to the left to get my net and reach out to get it and pull it to me. And as soon as I did that, it just pulled loose. God, man. And then I saw you call that big one. I was like, dude, go, man.
But it's like you still probably did everything right. It's just like that big of a fish against like the wire on a spinnerbait. Like you're kind of limited as to what you can, especially if you got grass pulling against it too. Like you
need a little luck on your side with that deal.
You absolutely do, which is why catching those true like fish of a lifetime or those double-digit fish, it's why they can be elusive and why it's so special when you do get one. Because like you said, you pretty much got to have everything going your way to land those things. It's no joke. You understand how strong some of those bigger fish are when you get lucky enough to hook into them. It's impressive.
Yeah,
it looked like it made it into a weed guard itself. It looked like it had it folded up in its mouth.
Yeah,
seriously, it looked crazy.
Yeah, Palmer, you guys, I don't have those big fish like that up where you live.
It's not real unless we see with our own eyes, man.
It's a fish story.
Not around Southwest Ohio.
Yeah,
no.
Dude. Well, you are just a few hours away from St. Clair and some of the best smallmouth fishing, so you got that in your back pocket.
Chick's not that far. Chick's only 5 hours for me, a little over 5.
So that's what it is for me too. Yeah, so that ain't bad.
It's not bad.
Well, Riser, man, you start off the morning. I know you caught that big fish early. But we got you on. You got a lot of experience on the Tennessee River. We've had you on before. We've talked about Pickwick, Chickamauga, Kentucky Lake, and stuff like that. And I always like you talked a lot. You and I have talked before how you like to pick a lot of people's brains and stuff. When you were kind of getting going with tournament fishing and whatnot.
Yep.
And one of the big things that I'd like to do here on the show is I like to give people some some of those tips that, you just don't hear about on the surface.
Sure.
And as it pertains to, the Tennessee River, the lakes like Chickamauga, Pickwick, Gunnersville that have a lot of grass, I would probably, Gunnersville has a lot of different kind of grass,
It
so
does. It's kind of the oddball, the asterisks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as like Pickwick goes and Chickamauga, man, you have a lot of that same hydrilla, milfoil, whatever, and it changes. So as you know, last year, I want to throw this out there. Joshua Deal, he won, the Bassmaster tournament on Pickwick, Fish and Grass. And there's David, our friend David, and Guillermo Gonzalez. I probably just butchered that. That's a tongue twister for me. But they did really well fishing that fresh green grass. So for you, man, what was it like? What was your practice like, and kind of what's your process of going through, even trying to find that type of grass? Because when you look at a place like Chick, it's like, man, where do I start?
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of time on Chickamauga, especially that time of year. Really, the Hobie tournament back in June was where I finally put in the most hours for any event there, and I learned so much at that event about Chickamauga, especially at the word ceremony, hearing how all the different guys caught them and realizing that there was still plenty of shallow bite to be had. Like I know you and me, Justin, like went for the offshore thing, like basically in the same neighborhood. And I thought that was going to be the sure way, but man, there's plenty of guys that caught them shallow. So that tournament told me that there's just a lot of fish in general in Chickamauga, and the big ones still linger shallow too. But even though I was lured to go offshore for this event this past weekend there, I still was like, well, I'm going to check offshore first, but I'm not opposed to going back in a creek and looking around too. But really what I was thinking is my time in late August and especially the month of September is on Pickwick on the Tennessee River. And the best fishing I've had out there has during that time of the year has always been around the greenest, crispiest, healthiest looking hydrilla patches. And I saw that multiple years in a row. And then I would see a year where grass would be sprayed, or maybe due to floods or something, the grass didn't grow as well. And I would still go back and check those same spots and they would be dead, or, not a fraction of what it was. So over the course of a few years, I'm able to understand that, like, hey, this equation of good, healthy grass equates to fish and bait and everything being in the area. And so that was kind of in the back of my head. And so I'm thinking, like, I'll go check out some stuff on Chickamauga that maybe can be like closest to what I've seen on Pickwick, right? And literally in the first 2 minutes that I launched, I ran into you, Justin, at the boat ramp. I'm going to check out some of that offshore grass stuff, and man, I had a feeling that grass was going to be sprayed up in some places. It's just kind of that time of year, and I won't go off on a complete tangent, but I think that sometimes, like when people spray grass, like, and not just Tennessee River, not just state of Tennessee, it's a lot of places like Louisiana. I've seen it happen. I call the guy Joe Herbicide. Like I feel like there's like Joe Herbicides everywhere that they get paid to spray grass. And there's no one to really regulate them, like who, where, and why they do it. They just know that they got their herbicide and they're going to put it out there. Yeah. And they may put it out in some quote appropriate places where like boat docks or boat channels need to be. But I've also seen them spray where it's like there's no point or benefit in you spraying here other than you're probably just getting paid to spray your herbicide.
Yep.
And what I noticed on Thursday in practice, I only got about a half day in there. I didn't launch till noon or 1 o'clock that day. Checked all kinds of stuff, and there was grass that had grown a lot more since we were there in June on Chickamauga. But it was all brown, like it had the water on top or inside the grass was too stained up for my liking. I was fishing spots that I felt really good about and still wasn't getting a bite. And I never got a bite or caught a keeper that whole Thursday. Checking out that whole larger area. And so I was like, okay, a little discouraging. Friday, went a little bit upriver from there. Same thing, trying to find grass, and found no shortage of grass, but again, couldn't get bit, and none of it just looked real healthy. And I finally I was coming around a point, and I finally went across like some green grass that maybe it missed the spray or for whatever reason, it was actually healthy. And immediately noticeable with it, the water was clean and clear. You could see the shad and bait fish. And in the middle of it, I saw a good largemouth just swimming around and cruising. So like all the confirmations that like, hey, this is what I need to look for, it was kind of there. But it wasn't enough for me to go in on a game plan or a tournament deal for that Friday. So I packed up, I launched, I only had a few more hours left to practice on Friday. Launched at a ramp that I'd never been to before. I knew nothing about it. I was like, well, if I just keep going upriver, maybe I'll find grass that hadn't been all sprayed up. And sure enough, right when I get to the ramp, I'm like, ooh, this looks good. Clear water, bait, like green, crispy hydrilla. Like you're starting to see a theme here as far as like what I'm looking for. And one of my very first casts on like kind of a good grass edge or a grass mat that I thought was good, I was throwing a top water, got bit, 17-incher. And after making a ton of casts the last few days, like getting that result right away, I was like, well, this is by far the best thing I found. And it's not even that great, that best I could tell, but it gives me something to start with, something to go on. It looked familiar. It reminded me of like fishing that time of year on Tennessee River, how I wanted to. So I was like, I'll go in on this. This is good enough. At least I know there's some activity here. I thought I marked what could be some fish, but it just looked right. One bite, one fish is all it took for me to be like, well, better than nothing. And turned out that spot that I found obviously held a lot more fish. I had a couple really good anglers come by during the tournament on Saturday by my spot after I had my limit and basically confirmed like, hey, we were here like Tuesday, Wednesday, and got some big ones here. Boats were catching some big ones there. And there was a very obvious spot right by where I was catching them that all the boats were hitting, whereas my spot, even though it was right next door, wasn't as obvious. But like I said, I had a couple buddies confirm like, oh yeah, we found something good here. And I asked the one angler, I was like, well, why didn't you start here? Like, if you knew it was a good spot. He's like, I wanted to gamble on an early morning topwater bite just down the way. So he did that. And I think he regretted it because obviously I was able to reap the benefits of that. But man, it just looked right. It reminded me of what I liked fishing on Pickwick during that time of year. Not quite a ledge bite. I wanted to have the option of some main river current going by it. As you know, anyone who fishes Tennessee River knows that when they get that current running, that it gets fish feeding. So even if there wasn't current, at least there's healthy vegetation. And then if there was current, which there was minimal current a little bit at the end of Sunday, and that was about it in my opinion. But
it was very little.
Still a population of fish there. So that's how I ended up fishing where I did. And I'm not kidding when I said it was about a 75-yard stretch, and I just went back and forth on it all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It was boring. It wasn't that fun. But
that's a really tough one when you got to do that and just to stick with it, just go back and forth. You've heard about it a lot, and I mean that's a commitment. It's mentally challenging, But in that situation, when do you ever go and look in the back of pockets, or have you ever had any success, finding that better grass, looking in the back of pockets? 'Cause, a lot of kayak anglers, are not, they're in the backs of creeks and stuff like that, and that, or at least that's where a lot like to look, and some people are just not comfortable being out on the main river. But have you had much success on the Tennessee River specifically, finding anything like that during this time of year?
A little bit. I still consider more main river pockets where I'm not too far from current. I know a lot of fish, and even I'm pretty sure like, Jordan and Ewing's fish were caught out of the sloughs, like not main river stuff at all. I could be wrong. You'll have to ask them, but like, to me, it's about like how many plus factors can I combine? Like, is there healthy grass? Is there a ledge? Or is there river current? Maybe is the shade and the shadows as the sun moves its course throughout the day? How pressured is it? Like, if I can make all those factors work in my favor as opposed to against me, like when I think of backwater fish or back in a slough or a creek or something, it gets me a little bit nervous towards the end of summer, because I'm like, man, how many of them have been caught up and taken to the weigh-in at this point, and they don't reload like a main river spot would. So I didn't have time to really check much as far as backwaters or stuff. I do not have a motor. A lot of guys that are checking out all the backwaters and creeks on this last tournament, since motors were allowed, used that to their advantage. They were motoring to these spots. Any spots that I was curious about that it could have been good, I didn't have the time or the energy to go do it. And I was like, man, let's just go in on what I feel cozy with and what I have time to check out. But yeah, the pockets, the backwater stuff, that grass, like same thing. If it looks healthy and there's bait back there, you're probably going to give yourself a shot at catching some fish or catching the fish that you want to catch back there. And that was evident that definitely did happen in this tournament. But I just wanted to be cozy. And since I was not cozy the majority of practice, when I finally found something that felt good, I was like, well, this is what we're going to go with. And I'm not going to try to, make it any tougher on myself or scramble around. And I gave myself a little bit of a backup option in case that spot just fell apart that I could go and junk fish. I did not want to do it, but I was prepared to do it if I had to. Luckily, I didn't have to.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: on Sunday, did you get most of your bites in the morning still, or did you have to grind them out throughout the day?
Kind of neither. Day one, that big fish, which was my only big fish, all my other fish were like in the, 15-inch range, if I remember correctly. So my only big bite happened is my first bite of the morning. It was light, even though we had a good solid of pure dark fishing there based on the line's end time for this event. But I caught that big one earlier on the deeper grass. And so when I say deeper, there was like some, 8 to 15 foot grass that I would throw a Texas rig worm in, Texas rig Cinco, so it could just kind of, creep through that grass. And then up shallower where there was some mats and scattered mats is where I would throw a fluke. I think maybe I only caught one. Maybe it was only the big one on the Cinco on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I caught a 20-inch and a 19-inch on the Cinco in the dark. They were truly in the dark still. So that early morning.
Wow. And
I think that those fish were, I think those bigger ones were deeper and were hanging out there. And I think they were just so pressured and spooky. But I do feel like there was more of them there. I just didn't hook into any of them.
Yeah.
But then once it got light on Sunday, I was catching fish all day. I mean, I caught probably 20, 25 keepers all day, but a lot of them were 13 and 14-inch fish. So once I called a few of those, just a lot of them were, set them on the board for a second. Nope, not going to help. Don't think it would, and throw it back. Those were all on a fluke, just throwing a fluke up to the grass edge or the patchy stuff. They were pushing some bait up there. They weren't schooled up. The bass weren't schooled up. It was like individual fish that would just, chase one single shad. I was a little surprised. Usually you start to see them school up.
I know that was kind of my experience too. I never really saw very many schooling fish.
I guess it'll be soon. So I was telling some guys this, y'all tell me what you think of this theory. So whenever I usually catch a fish this time of year, TVA, in the same scenario, usually you catch one and say if you catch 17-incher, most of them are that size, like 1650 to 1750 right in there. They're about that size if they're schooled up. Well, these fish I was catching, 13-incher, 14-incher, 20-incher, and it was kind of all over the place. Almost wondered if they weren't schooled up because the big bass may be eating like the little bass, and they kind of give themselves their own space or room out there. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, but it was not consistent size, and like I said, they weren't grouped up or schooled up. But there was just a population of bass on that 75-yard stretch that I never ran out of them. I could have kept catching them kind of all day and just throwing that fluke up there. And if I saw one bust, it was a guarantee I was going to catch him. That was cool. That was kind of fun that I could throw up there and hook into him because that fish was hot and ready to go. But
that's an interesting theory. I mean, because for me, where I was at, and I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that. I mean, I was just seeing those real small shad. I didn't see very many gizzard shad or anything like that cruising around. And it would make sense. I mean, bass, they react to things, so these smaller 12-inch, 11-inch bass, that are chasing around this little bait, those bigger fish. I mean, heck, if it can happen in a Bass Pro Tank, it can happen out there for sure. So interesting theory. I wanted to run one by you. And we, when we came here, when we went there for the Hobie event, a lot of the grass, down on the southern end was already sprayed. Some of those main river, real hot spots that have grass on them, they were dead.
Really?
And so I mean, an idea or something that I was thinking of kind of after the fact. Of course, I was like you. I had 2 days, practice, in a kayak, that's just not very much time, to run around and check a lot of stuff. But a theory I was thinking of was, later in the summer, if some of that those areas that were sprayed, early in the summer, late spring, if some of those areas will start to grow some fresher grass, and those fish start to kind of migrate into those areas. Maybe it's not as tall, it's probably not going to get as tall because you just don't have the same amount of time for the growing season. But, I don't know. I don't know much about herbicide, if like when it kills it, like it's just dead, for a long time or what.
Yeah, I don't know how drastically the herbicide affects it, but I agree with you in that like the longer it's been since it's been sprayed, the better. It seemed like the most freshly sprayed stuff, and this is based on talking to an angler that would tell me, oh, we literally saw a spray boat yesterday, or a bass boat would be like, hey, just so you know, they sprayed this or whatever. Like I heard guys talking about that. Hydrilla, if giving clear water to where, sunlight can penetrate, if I'm not mistaken, hydrilla can grow inches in a day. Like it can grow very fast. And so if that grass is left alone and not treated, or even maybe it's been a long time since it has been treated, it can still grow back. And obviously, like if it gets green and crispy and healthy, it's going to produce oxygen, it's going to produce cover, and then the whole cycle of life underwater there starts to flourish, from the whole food chain up to the bass that we want to catch and beyond. Yep. So if I was fishing theoretically in that tournament and someone said, oh, this place got sprayed 3 days ago, and maybe there's another place that got sprayed 3 weeks ago, I'd still rather be in the 3 week ago spot as opposed to the 3 day ago spot. And it's kind of hard to tell, for sure what's truth and how it is. But I know if you've seen good, clean grass, it's green, it's crispy. You see life everywhere. Like I remember seeing that on Kentucky Lake, probably like 2017 was some of the first time that I'd really gotten those big, miles long hydrilla fields, like on the main river. And my mind was blown. I said, just gizzard chat everywhere. Like I was just like, man, every fish wants, they want to be in there. They want to be in that stuff. And so that's how long it's been since I've kind of had that in my mind, that like, hey, if nothing else, if you don't know what you're doing or don't got anything to start with, like it's a guarantee those fish like hanging out in that healthy stuff. And then after you find something that looks good, there's a million different ways you can go about it, whether you want to punch it, top water, finesse, like, there's countless ways. So then you got to do the work to do that. But I feel like it's not bad advice just to say, hey, find some healthy grass. And if there's other plus factors there, you're probably going to give yourself a good shot at stirring up some fish.
Absolutely. Man, great stuff. Great tips. It's traditional, it kind of goes along with like the traditional Tennessee River style,
Very much.
Like the ledge deal, you just got to cover a lot of water and look for that right juice, so, a lot of us when we go to tournaments and stuff, man, that's a lot of times the only times we get to fish, so I would encourage people, going off of the information you're giving and stuff, man, put in a little time sometimes, just to get out there and just look for that right stuff. If you want to go and fish a tournament, man, and want to try to win it, put some miles behind you and cover and just look for that stuff. Because when you find it, dude, like, it's like, it's obvious.
Oh yeah. On the lake, Tennessee River, where it's such a healthy place and there's so many good bass and big bass and the populations are great in there. Like, it's fun doing it that way. And, let's say the guys that feel overwhelmed, like, hey, maybe I'm not too sharp with the electronics, or, if they feel like, oh man, I don't have live scope or forward facing, what do I do? Put your polarized sunglasses on, stand up and look in some of that grass where, like, it don't matter what your sonar, what you do or don't have, like, use your eyeballs to give you all the clues you need. I've got a very basic electronic setup right now. And for pretty much all of Sunday, my sonar was off. I didn't want to let those fish know that I was hanging out on top of them or nearby them. And since I didn't have a motor or a sonar going, and the water was so clear and those fish were so pressured, like, I needed every bit of help I could get just to get the bite that I wanted, especially those bigger bites. So yeah, don't be afraid to stand up, look at it, use your eyes to lead the way around this summertime grass stuff. It can be fun. We're getting up on frog season here pretty soon too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm excited for that, man. So I mean, Adam, man, appreciate you jumping on, dude.
Yeah.
You're always a friend of the show. Enjoy seeing you on the water, sharing water with you and
always.
stuff too. And man, thank you for jumping on.
I got one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Tip on a typical chick, pinning, no spray grass, nothing like that. In a typical tournament like you just had, would you start out first on a ledge, or would you look for that fresh grass first?
I want both. That's what I was looking for. It's what I did during the Hobie in June. It's what I did on this one. Like, why not check them both out? Like that way, if the grass ain't there, like the spot that I camped out on in June, it looked like there was less grass there this time around, but near the ramp, it was obviously a lot more grass had grown. So if you can, try to find both of them. Now, if you're talking this part of the country during this, June is really great ledge season because all those May post spawners have finally moved out. So all throughout the month of June, I'm probably going to gravitate more to the ledge, whether it's grass or not. And that grass is still growing during that time too. Once you get into July, I think a lot of that grass is starting to top out and is really growing up good. And again, you got to see how much they are or not spraying. But we'll say starting in August, that's when you can start looking back in pockets with grass and stuff, and that can still be better than like the ledge stuff on TVA. And ledge stuff again is very dependent on current so often too. So you may find a school of fish and can't get them to bite, whereas you go back in a pocket like some of these other guys did, and as long as you're cozy fishing that way back there and doing your thing that way, that can be the way to go too. So to answer your question, I try to find both, because the more plus factors that you have all in one spot, in my opinion, your percentages go up that you can make something happen.
There you go.
Deal.
All right, man. Well, good seeing you again. I look forward to having you back on the show, dude. We'll catch you next time.
Appreciate it, guys. Hey, congrats to Jordan too, coming on next. It's super impressive what he's doing out there, but in the fishing world. So happy to see that guy get a W.
Yeah, he's whooping us all, man.
Ain't he?
All right, brother. Be good.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Speaking of frog bite, I want to share this little quick video. I don't know if you guys caught any of the Bassmaster tournament this weekend, but this was a juicy little video.
It was sweet to watch.
I love Zona's voice.
That's got to be a mudfish. No, it's a bass, a giant bass. God.
3 in a row like that.
Look at that thing.
He caught like 3 in a row like that on like 5 casts.
I know, big old 6-pounder. All right, well, this we've had Jordan waiting too long, man. Let's get him in here.
Yeah, we'll talk to him.
What's up, brother?
What's up,
man? Not a lot, man. Over here, cleaning my wounds after this past weekend, and you're over there cashing the checks.
Chick will do that to you, man. I told somebody that when they made the recap post. I think it was Matt Miller. He was like, "Man," he said, "this was a humbling weekend." I was like, "Man," I said, "I've been there a lot, just in general, and especially on Chickamauga, because that place, it'll humble you in a hurry. It's an angry lake, and that's why they call it Chick, because it's a female."
I like that. Yeah, well, you've when you're in the award ceremony, you said something along the lines of like, finally beat Chick or something like that. But so you've had your fair share of getting whooped on Chick. How did it feel, dude, to finally come away with a little bit of a win on it?
Man, it was
a big win.
It was. I was excited the whole day, right? I was like nervous, but I was like, man, I've got an 11-inch lead. And then people were like texting me. Lambert called me and was like, "Hey, man, I'm getting off the water. I got to go, pack for the next trip, whatever." He said, "I just, congratulations, you're invited to KBN Monday night for being the Tennessee state champion." I was like, "Dog, it is noon. Like, it is noon." And of all people, he should know how that place works, because I caught a 25 to beat him. And I said verbatim, I said, "Dude," I said, I know how this place is. Like, I'm moving boat ramps with an 11-inch lead. I was like, "I'm changing. I'm going to try to call up." And he was like, all right. And I had people texting me saying, hey, go have a sit down lunch, enjoy it, savor it. And I was like, no way. I told Lambert verbatim, I said, somebody's going to catch a 25 and screw me over in a heartbeat. Like, I know how that is. And it wasn't 5 minutes, and Ewing calls and he said, hey, just so you know, I caught a 25 and I caught one more and I'm going to beat you.
Golly.
I was like,
there goes that heart thumping.
Savages, man.
oh yeah, absolute. Like I get it. I respect the mental game. I respect that. I've done my fair share of trash talking and events, big, small, whatever. But I've never had anyone call and tell me that.
Yeah.
Because normally I'm the person,
man.
That's in second or third trying to cull up there and make something happen. But yeah, that was the wildest part of the day for sure was finding out Ewing caught a 20 and a half and a 25 and like 20 minutes apart. And I was like, oh crap. I was like, Prince Ewing done figured them out. This is about to drive me insane.
Yeah. Well, man, kudos to you, dude. I mean, I felt the same way during the Hobie event. I never once thought. I mean, I fished all the way up until 2:30 or 3, whatever it was, both days.
Yeah.
Never once got off the water. So I mean, yeah. I mean, it's Chickamauga, man. Anything can happen at any minute, and it will. So can't put it past it. But
Saturday, I really wasn't expecting to be in the lead. Like I pulled up to that first. Excuse me, sorry. I pulled up to that first spot. My first 3 fish were 19 and a half, 19 and a quarter, and 18 in the same like little pothole spring the size of the bed of my truck. And I was like, oh, we're rocking and rolling. Like the fish are still here from the Hobie. And I mean, it's hot. I mean, obviously they're, I thought they could still be in a spring. Ewing was catching fish out of a different spring in the same area. And I was just fishing that spring. And it was just kind of one of those things. There were other people in there that were losing fish. It definitely, there was a lot of fish back there. And I actually got off the water at about noon with 83, 84 inches. Went to the tackle shop, restocked some stuff, drove to my B spot, which I had never been to before. I literally just saw it on my way to the VRBO on Friday and was like, how have I never seen this? Like, this looks right. I was like looking from the bridge, trying to like look around. I pulled it up on my maps and I was like, this looks like something similar to what I've already caught fish on in the past on Chick. And I just left it. And I was like, so it was in my head all day, even though I'd caught, those 3 good fish in the first spot. I had like a 13 and a 15 to cull. And I went over there and that place was absolutely chock full of 16-inch fish. I mean, just like so predictable, the most obvious areas on a jackhammer. I put in there and fished for 45 minutes at the end of day 2 and culled both of my small fish and caught probably 3 more that were, 14 to 15 and lost what I thought was probably a 17 or 18, maybe even a 19-inch fish. I got a good, fairly decent look at it. It wasn't a giant, but there was a lot of white on that thing. And so I was like, man, I said, this, if it doesn't work out, if my donkey hole doesn't work out, then we'll just slide over here and throw 80 inches up and call it a day. And day 2 slid in back there at the same spot, made a few casts into the spring and nothing. And I was like, oh no, like I
gut feeling,
I
like, oh shit,
just casual, like, here we go again, Chickamauga, I'm not worried about this. And I made 3 or 4 casts into that hole, and I immediately like just full blown, oh my gosh, here we go again, Chick. I relied on one spot too heavily, everything's going through my mind. And I remember some conversations I'd had with, Ewing and the other guy that was back there. I can't remember his name. But he had a, average limit the first day and said he lost a bunch of fish. And I went back there and I talked to Ewing. I was like, look, man, I said, I know that's kind of your area back there. And I didn't even go in there in this basic, giant pocket. And, I was like, man, I said, you care if I slide in there? He said, nah, man, there's so many fish back here. He said, it doesn't matter. I go back there, probably didn't fish for 5 minutes, caught a 17.5. Had another, I probably caught 10 fish in the first hour or so that were between 11 and 11 3/4. Just one after the other. I mean, the same place that Ewing caught a 25 from, there's
Jeez.
1,000 11-inch fish back there, which was weird to me. Just like Roger was saying, all the fish were just, I mean, you'd see a 5-pounder blow up chasing shad, and then you'd see, little bitty fish you'd throw over there and think it's a 5-pounder. And then as soon as your bait hits the water, whether it was a top water or a fluke or a Cinco, as soon as the bait would hit the water, you'd have something eat it, and it'd be 11-inch fish. And it's like, man, how many fish are in here? And
yeah, obviously something there that's that's holding them there pretty well. Were you fishing around a lot of grass and stuff like that too?
Yeah, it was. I was in a slough. I don't think that's in a secret. I mean, you can see in the pictures, mine and Ewing both, how much grass was back there, and like the selfies we were taking with each other in them, and even like where he caught his giant, you can see all the grass that's around his kayak. There's a lot of sloughs on Chick, obviously, and that particular slough wasn't choked out as bad as a lot of the other sloughs. There's one particular creek slough that's really popular, and I had heard it was already choked out, and it's a great slough. The few guys that went there caught fish, but I think it was just too choked out to find and locate big fish. And where we were at, it was a little more scattered. I mean, the 17.5 and the 15.5 or whatever it was, my first 2 fish on Sunday were on a popar. So there was scattered enough grass, and you could see fish pushing bait, like it starts to get. I was surprised that it was already going that way back there because the water was fairly cool back there. But you would see all those little tiny, 1-inch long shad flickering across the surface. And then, if you could see shad flickering, no matter what size they were, you could throw over there and catch something. It might be a white bass, it might be an 11-incher, it might be a 17-incher, but there was just fish eating back there. And even a gar, I had a giant gar blow up on a whopper plopper, like right at kind of I got really
excited.
Those
things for some reason.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I was throwing a black whopper plopper right about. I mean, the sun hadn't come up yet. I mean, it was just bright enough for me to see where I was casting the whopper plopper between those little scattered grass areas, and there was just like knocked it, and I was like, oh, that was a big one, and I could kind of see it coming up behind it with its big old long mouth, and I was like, oh, that was, it could have been a lot worse. It could have blown up on it and got hooks in it, and I could have fought it like a donkey up until the kayak.
Well, man, one thing it's kind of interesting hearing you talk about your pattern and everything that you did, the way you were catching your fish. It seems a lot different from like kind of your kind of claim to fame. Like you're kind of known for covering a lot of water. I mean, you said, that's your deal. You're covering a lot of water, so in a situation like this where, you're catching fish and whatnot, is that ticking in the back of your mind? Like, man, I need to kind of get back to what I do per se, and start covering a lot of miles? Or if you're catching fish, are you like, dude, I'm not leaving fish to go find fish?
It's funny you say that in that particular manner. We got a joke amongst a lot of the East Tennessee guys that you don't leave fish to find fish. But some of the best days I've ever had is when we've been catching fish, and I'm like, oh man, if that's working, let's go try this. And then we go somewhere else, and then we just lay the hammer to them because it's a similar style place that's a little different, maybe a little harder to get to. So I don't care a bit to leave fish. And that's, even if it worked adversely against me Sunday, like me and Ewing were right on top, like in the same area. I left knowing I had 181 inches in 2 days in a really small area. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I feel like this is dead. I'm going to go over here to this other spot and throw a jackhammer and just try to get a big bite. And I did. I pedaled, because I left my battery back at the rental house on Sunday. So I did about 3 miles in the morning one way, fished back there in one little spot, pedaled back 3 miles, loaded up, drove 38 minutes, 40 minutes to another spot, and then, probably did another mile or two at the secondary location. And, I like covering water. I feel like it just kind of suits my style to kind of get away from other people.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's weird because I think over half my fish at the Hobie at Chick came on a Senko, which I don't like throwing Senkos. I don't like throwing spinning rods. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And I think five of my fish between the 2 days at the Bassmaster, this last weekend, were on a Senko, the exact same Senko.
Wow, it lasted 5 fish for you?
No. I did make a sacrificial jackhammer. One went up in the tree, not probably 5 casts after I made it to my second spot. I'm half tempted to go back and find that jackhammer if I have enough time to go back down there.
Yeah.
It was like 30 minutes left, and I was worried about Ewing, and I got that thing hung. I didn't even yank it 3 or 4 times. I just reeled down real quick and snapped it. And because I was like, I got to keep casting. I got to keep casting it. Man, yeah. I caught fish on that jackhammer at Susquehanna. In Sweden, I caught a perch on it, and maybe even a pike. I don't remember if that was the exact one I caught a pike on, but I threw it a lot in Sweden. And then I came back and caught probably 30 fish on it at Wolf and Fox River. And then I caught a couple. I caught one of my fish on day 1 in my bag on the same jackhammer. So it was, it's made it through 3 states and another country and back and forth.
Y'all got some.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to have that jackhammer back.
You need to go get that thing back, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same thing one time. I caught a big bass in a tournament on a 3/8 ounce jackhammer, and I was like, dude, I should probably just kind of put this to the side, and just kind of hang it up as a little trophy. And the next time I took it out,
can see, we're gonna try to move this. Y'all see these baits hanging from the those are all trophy baits, and I got trophy baits hanging from right there too. There's a couple spinner baits and a crankbait hanging up over there. I do retired baits. There's some retired baits sitting on this thing back here too.
How do those baits make it to the trophy? How do they get classified as a trophy bait for you? Trophy fish?
No. Actually, the 25 I caught, I retired that chatterbait. But I do not know its whereabouts at this point. It got lost after I moved the last time. But a lot of these baits are, baits that have caught just a stupid amount of fish and they're just wore out. Yeah. Like a couple of these balsa baits right here. I mean, they're split open and they don't run right anymore. Because, I throw crankbaits until until I break them off or they don't run right. Because those have just stupid mojo. Because I think the more you can throw a crankbait, the more you wear it out, the better it is. Yeah. You can't really wear out a jackhammer. So you basically have to either retire it or break it off. But that's, I've had some that I would have liked to have kept before I broke them off.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You started the tournament with this jackhammer. It's hung up in a tree, and you won the state title. So I feel like you show a service to retire that one.
Yeah, I need to go find that thing. I need to send Pro Neighbor after it. It's near his rental house we stayed in. So
how far do you live from Chick?
A solid hour and a half from the upper end.
Okay.
It's about an hour and a half from Dayton, and it's a solid 2 hours from Chester Frost.
Because I heard you said that you drove to Chick consistently to learn that lake, learn it. How long do you think it took you to really feel comfortable to go out and do what you did?
I grew up fishing Chick with my dad. He always wanted to go down there. What people don't realize is Chick was a stupid good lake before they started doing this is a whole nother conversation. Y'all going to get me down a rabbit hole. Chick was a stupid good lake, in my opinion. When it was stupid full of grass. There were no Florida fish in it. And you could go and night fish. And I'm not a big night fisherman, but what I did like when me and my dad would go, we would go fish those humps out in the middle of the lake on the main channel. and fish at night with big spinner baits. And, you know, it felt like we were covering water, which is what I like. And I didn't have to just drag a jig all night. And man, you could go out there and it seemed like you'd catch 34 pounders or, you know, 33 pounders or whatever else, and just sit in one spot and just catch over and over and over and over and over again. And, you know, I didn't ever think about going down there to catch a 10-pounder, but I knew there were giant fish down there from, you know, pictures my dad's friends would show us. But man, I mean, I had a lot of fun fishing that place, but you know, for the longest time, every time I went down there, I hated fishing it in the daytime because it was just so clear. That was always my thoughts of Chick for the longest time was, man, this place is so clear. I mean, we hardly ever caught anything in the daytime. And then when I started going back down there to fish tournaments with Steve and them, like, I didn't care if I caught fish or not. And I probably went down there the first time in, I don't know, May. I fished 3 events that first year in a classic, and just I didn't really feel like I knew what I was doing in the classic, even though I won their classic that first year. I had like 74, 75 inches and won a classic because I found a bunch of fish schooling and just threw a square bill through them out in the wide open of the creek. You know, it wasn't like I did anything. You know, I was just pedaling and they started blowing up, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And even then it was like, okay, you know, I can at least catch fish down here. I can be competitive. And I think that classic was like end of October. And I think I went down basically every weekend, at least probably 2 to 3 times a month, November, December, January. And then February, there were tournaments that started picking up. And I would go down there and fish both club tournaments and then go down there and practice one week, and then the other weekend of the month I would fish a local tournament. And I literally did that, you know, probably 3 times a month for November, December, January, February, March, maybe into April. So maybe 5-6 months I went down there almost every weekend. And I won Angler of the Year for them that first year that I fished the full year. And then ever since then it was like, I feel like I learned so much from that place because it's so pressured even then.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't hard. It wasn't pulling teeth. Like Chickamauga drives me nuts, like because there's so many people, and I've just seen so many stupid people down there. People that just don't care about kayaks, and I about got ran over one night that year fishing a night tournament. A bass boat ran beside me, probably, you know, 10 foot away from me, 20 foot away from me at the most, at 60, 70 miles an hour in the middle of the night. And I had lights on and everything. And I haven't fished at night since.
Yeah.
Cause it scared me. And
it's experiences like that you have on a particular body of water. Like, I mean, compared to Pickwick, I've never had any bad experiences on Pickwick, day or night, but man, one of the first times I went to Chickamauga, I had a bad experience, and that put a bad taste in my mouth. I hated Chick. You know, I was like, dude, I really don't want to come back here. I'm going to because of tournaments and whatnot, but you know, I mean, honestly, I mean, it wasn't until the Hobie event that I was like, yeah, I kind of like Chick now, you know. But
yeah,
I mean,
I've had guys fishing the back of Saudi Creek. Put him back there at the circle back there and go back towards the back on that giant flat. I was catching fish on a crankbait on that little back rock wall kind of behind, I think it's Holly Circle back in there around in the back of Saudi Creek. And I had a bass boat just kind of motor around. They were just kind of idling around and saw me catch a fish, cranking that wall. And they pulled in there and just flipped right in front of me. And I said, what are y'all doing? They said, well, we're fishing a tournament. I said, congratulations, I am too. And they said, well, we're fishing for bass. And I said, well, congratulations. I said, I am too. and they didn't say anything else. They just went, you know, they just quit talking and just went and fished up that way and then turned around and fished right back to me. And when they got up to me, they just loaded up and went around. And I was like, you know, this is the only place in the country that I've ever been that, you know, for the longest time, it's gotten a little better. But I mean, even the last time I actually pre-fished for a tournament, I think, was Chick before the Hobie. Me and Eric fished on Memorial Day, and I had a boat literally pull in there right on top of me, and drops his trolling motor, and the guy in the back like wouldn't get up, and he was looking at me. He knew. And I was,
It's always the guy in the back. He's like, man, I feel bad.
I was hot. I was angry because he came directly across the lake, up on the upper end. It's not that wide, and set that thing down. And I was like, hey. And the guys kind of like looked over his shoulder and saw me, and then just looked back, didn't say anything. And at that point, I was fuming. So I went like right around the outside of his boat, and I said, hey man, I said, if you don't care, I said, give us a look the next time before you lay the boat down in front of me. He said, well, I didn't see you. And I said, well, I know you heard me. And I said, you're hearing me right now too. I said, I would suggest you not lay that thing down in front of me again. He's like, well, there's freaking kayakers all over the freaking place. Yeah. I said, yeah. So we're getting ready for a big tournament. I said, you're about to see a whole lot more of us. I suggest you stay off this end of the lake for the next few days. Oh, I was mad. And he motored. He went up the lake and he came back down and just started flying around. I can imagine he was mad, but I don't know. I was hot, and the guy in the back was just sitting there. He knew. But it's stuff like that, man. It's, it was worse before, but even now, there's still people that just don't care. And there seems to be, it just might be just the sheer number of people that fish chick, and it might be like that everywhere. But you get that many boats and kayaks together, there's, it's not ideal.
Some words are gonna be thrown one way or the other for sure. Yeah, I just kind of wonder though, if it's more the locals that act that way, because they tend to think like, man, this is my lake, and a lot of these guys are going out there, they're putting crappie in the boat to go home and feed the family, and here's 200 kayak anglers all over their spot, and they're in back of their creek. But if it's more of the local guys or the tournament anglers that are coming in from out of town that just have no respect for anybody except for what's in front of them,
I think it's the local guys. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, amongst the tournament guys, I feel like a lot of us, kind of have that, understanding like of what's going on, especially when you go down lake and you see, you're seeing a ton of kayaks, you kind of get the gist of what's going on, It's not nowadays for sure. I mean, we've been doing this long enough now. It's no secret. I still have people bring up Kentucky Lake. 860 anglers. Like, man, were y'all out there in Kentucky Lake 2018? Like in full force, man.
Yeah. That was terrible.
That was insane.
Yeah, I skipped that one.
So what was it like for you, man? Were you pretty excited coming back from Sweden to put the jackhammer back in your hand to chase bass, or I know you had a good time over there.
So yeah, I threw the jackhammer in Sweden. That's what me and Lambert caught. Most, if not all, of our pike on was the jackhammer. So I never really put it down over there. I gave jackhammers away to people from other countries, and so I get back, and it took us 26 hours or 25 hours or whatever it was to come back. Or 28, I don't even remember at this point, but it took us, forever to come back. I come home, I sleep in my bed for like an hour, go to work 12 hours, work next day 12 hours, next day work 8 hours. And as soon as I got off work, me and Eric got in the vehicle on Thursday afternoon and drove all night to Wolf and Fox River.
Wow. Dude.
I never even took the stuff out of my boat from Pennsylvania. I didn't put anything in. I didn't take anything out. It was the exact same setup I had at Susquehanna that I basically had for waiting. And I was light as a feather. I didn't have hardly anything. We slept half the day on Friday, and when we got to going, we drove around. We made a few casts off the boat ramp, and Eric caught a couple pike, and we saw a giant pike break him off. Right at the boat ramp we went to. So we were like, well, there's fish here, let's do this, let's do that. And we didn't really know what we were going to do, and kind of wound up at this random spot that just looked good to us that we didn't even, we saw it on a map. It wasn't any of the places we looked around, driving around looking for on Friday. And there was a lot of fish there. And it was nice because I literally threw a jackhammer for both days, and I've never had fish eat a jackhammer the way they did up at Wolf and Fox. I was reeling it with an 8-to-1 reel, at a pretty good pace, and they would literally knock slack into the line like a good jig bite. You could see it bounce. It wasn't
Golly.
like one of those things where you're feeling it and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, there's a
just
bite,
load
it's
up on
swimming
it.
with it. You could feel it thump and knock the line back at you. You would see it bounce off, in line, and you'd reel down and set it. And sometimes they would eat it so quick at you, you'd have to reel down again and set it again.
Golly.
I
I heard it was pretty
awesome.
impressive up there.
I would love to go back. I'd piss on lacrosse. I know that's the hot thing right now because the elites are up there. I'm not hating on lacrosse. I like the city, but oh my gosh, I don't care if I ever go fish the Mississippi River again. I do not want to go up there at all. I think I've been up there twice, and I have hated it each time more than the last.
Did you find did you find that it was probably just more challenging, just the navigation part of it, or is the fishing part just kind of what you're disappointed in?
I think
because man, when you look at that place on the map, I've never been. I mean, it looks like a maze that you could get lost in real easy, and the wolf and fox kind of look like that too.
Yeah, I mean, wolf and fox. There was so many little tiny lakes. Some of them you couldn't access. They got me on a rules thing. I had to call AJ and kind of get something squared away because there were so many dams and where you could put in, where you couldn't put in. I had to call AJ and tell him that I missed a sign because some of the dams you could fish all the way up to, like right at the generator. Mm-hmm. And the dam that I put in, even though it was completely calm, and I've been under much more aggressive flowing dams, the dam that I fished around, I literally went up one side, and on the other side on the river, there was a little tiny sign that said no boats, and I missed it. Wow. So I went up there and fished, and I get up to the dam, and it says, stay back 500 feet. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I can do this. No problem. There's plenty of current, and caught my limit. And on the way back out, I passed that sign and saw it, and I had to call AJ and disqualify all my fish so far that morning.
Golly.
And start over from scratch at noon, which was why a bunch of people asked me, they're like, man, if you caught so many fish both days, how'd you have 4 fish on day 2? It's like, or day 1. I was like, well, day 1, I had to restart at like 12 or 12:30. And literally, like, I had that whatever 68 inches or whatever on 4 fish, and literally lost like 2 fish over 17 inches in the last 10 minutes, or I would have finished in the top 10, and we'd be talking about another trip to the Worlds. And at least another shot for AOY. You know what I mean? Darnell goes crazy. I mean, like, that was frustrating. Like, I culled probably 20 points. I culled out the Texas, where we fished in Rayburn, or I don't know, whatever the crap we fished.
God, what was that place? No, the big one, the big massive lake.
I don't know. Where we fished? Toledo Bend.
Yeah, Toledo, there it is. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I was like, I culled the 55 with a 35, and that was cool because I'm in like 17th in points, and I feel comfortable making it back to TOC now. But, I'm not a person that settles with just making it to TOC. Like, that's like the bare minimum for me when I approach the season. And that's not like trying to be, whatever. It's like, you come off of AOY, you're like, okay, we're going for a repeat of AOY, top 3, qualify for Worlds. After going to Worlds, that is my standard for the year now. like that is the coolest experience I've ever had, and I know that I can do it. So it's like, why not make that your goal? You can't win AOY every year, but like, I want to go to Worlds every year they have Worlds from here on out.
You see that you've seen that with Ron Champion. Like, I mean, ever since he went to Worlds the first time, like that's seems to be his main goal every single year, is just to get back to Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
It's special, man. It really is. There's
it looked like a really good time you guys had over there. But I mean, it's also cool. I mean, you get to go there and represent, your country, doing something you love doing. In a very unlikely way that you probably would have never imagined as a little kid. I mean,
oh no,
who would have thought?
Oh no. I mean, I'll tell you what, the coolest part, no joke, is literally walking out through the boatyard and seeing all these rigged up Hobies like no one's ever seen. If you've not been to Worlds, there's 50 boats there, all rigged exactly the same, minus your name and your flag. And you're looking around, oh, where's my boat? Where's my boat? And you find your boat, and like that second, it feels like you're just like everything just stands still. There's people everywhere. There's random people that you don't know. There's people speaking language that you don't speak. And all of a sudden you see your boat and it's like the whole thing just kind of zones out and you're just staring at it. And it's like, okay, moron, like you got to either walk over there and get somebody to take a picture with it or something. 'Cause you're just, I mean, you're standing there in the way just looking at it like, holy crap, like I'm here in another country. My name is on a boat.
Yeah.
Like,
do you guys get to keep
pretty
those
freaking
boats?
cool. No, they're normally like either pre-sold. People are already asking for them. A lot of those boats went to different dealers across Sweden and I guess maybe Norway too. I don't know, but
Okay.
they normally go to dealers and different people buy them. Now you can buy the boat. I know there was a Frenchman that took his boat, and a couple other guys I think from the European team that bought their boats and took them home because they had driven up there for the event.
Okay.
I would have loved to have called Delta and being like, hey, I've got a 260-pound kayak.
A few extra seats.
Whatever it is coming back, with all the stuff that I brought, just I've got an extra check bag, and then me and Lambert could have, carried the Hobie back into the airport. I'm sure that would have been.
I got
great,
some ratchet straps. Can we strap it down to the top of the plane somewhere?
Yeah, no kidding.
You don't mind, do you?
But
that would be really cool.
Hopefully, if it ever comes back to the U.S., I would totally consider, if I had fish that, qualify for Worlds, if and when it comes back to the U.S., to try to get the boat if my name is on it when they do come back. So that would be something I would definitely want. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Is that it? I've heard of the U.S. deal. Is that next year or do we know?
I love Steve Fields to death, but that man keeps a secret like nobody I've ever met in my entire life. I tried every way in the world to kiss his butt to get me to allow us some information. And I was like, man, I said just give us a little hint, like tell us something we're gonna eat while we're there. No. Has it been there before? I ain't telling y'all that. And I couldn't even get a tiny hint. So there's been a few rumors of places. I would say, like I said, I honestly don't know. But if I had to guess, I'm qualified for the next two Worlds. I'd say there's a pretty good chance we're going to go to Australia in the next 2 years. I've always been told that was, the best Worlds that a lot of these guys have been to was Gold Coast. So,
you said that you are already qualified for the next two Worlds?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, man,
Nice.
awesome. Yes, I mean, this is
they're
you guys are
because of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So what were the other two ways that you qualified for the other two?
One we just had was Hobie Worlds 9, and I qualified for Hobie Worlds 10 from third place in AOY the year that Drew won it, and then Hobie Worlds 11 I qualified for AOY last year.
Okay. Gotcha.
Hobie Worlds 9, they had so many people that kind of backed out with COVID that they sent emails to guys that had qualified for Hobie Worlds 10 to ask. That's how I ended up going, and Lambert, basically the entire U.S. team except Christine and Siddiqui, maybe. There were only two of like the 8 or 9 of us that had actually specifically qualified for that World, because there was people didn't want to go. There were people that just didn't have the ability to go because it was such short notice. And then there were a lot of people that there was no Chinese team this year, and there were a few other countries that didn't come, to my understanding. So they kind of wanted to, just send an email. When I got the email, it was basically like, hey, this is a first come, first served basis. And I was at work, and I like pulled the brake on the truck and was like, yes, I want in. Yes, I'll be there. Let me know. And then like 5 minutes later, I had to send a follow-up email, and I was like, when is this? Because I didn't even know when it was. I was like, I'm going. you know,
Yeah.
I don't know when. I don't
Some
know
way,
when it
somehow.
was. I was like, okay, I basically had 3 months. I think it was about 80 days, give or take, between when I got that email and being over there. So I have no passport because my butt has never been anywhere
And
hardly.
that takes
I
a
mean,
little time to get that.
yeah, I've been all over the U.S. fishing and stuff, and have traveled a lot in the U.S. But like, I've never even considered going out of the country. I think there's so much stuff to explore here. It was like, wow, you know, why would I go
Yeah.
anywhere else? You know, and then it's like, okay, I can go somewhere else to fish for Team USA. Okay, cool. So expedited the passport, got it all squared away. As soon as I got it, I had to book my flight, and as soon as I booked my flight, like 2 days later was the deadline to start sending Hobie Worlds, like when I was going to get there and try to get on, you know, the same planes as everybody. And and it was super hectic there for like a month or so, and then it was just like dead calm for a month of just nothing but just worrying of like, oh my gosh, you know, what if I get there and I fail a COVID test, you know, before I get on an airplane? And then like, you know, I think literally like 14 days before we left, they lifted a restriction of no COVID tests before you get on an airplane. And it was like,
Wow.
oh, well,
Was
this
that
is dope. I literally have nothing to worry about now. It's like, I'm just going to
wow?
go
Okay.
fly.
Was
You
that
know?
was that airline specific or just in general?
It really was airline specific. You know, I don't want to get like, you know, political or anything, but like some airlines, like based on where you flew into, there were some of us that flew directly from the U.S. to Sweden, for specific reasons, and there were other guys that just went, you know, where it was easiest, and they flew to London or maybe not London. They flew to Amsterdam, I guess it
Sneaky flew
was.
into Amsterdam, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Amsterdam and Paris was a popular place. I think some of them flew into, and then flew different places. But we chose to all fly. A bunch of us all chose to fly Delta together and flew Delta from Atlanta to New York, and New York straight to Stockholm. And then we rented a car from Stockholm, and it was about 3.5 hour drive from Stockholm to Mall.
Gotcha.
So it was that was, you know,
Man, it sounds like a lot of fun, dude.
It really
heck of
was.
an experience.
I would do it again in a heartbeat for sure, especially,
Well,
you know, if I got to
sounds
go
like
back
you're
to
going
Sweden.
to be.
Yeah. Even Sweden, I would totally go back if it was the spring. Somebody asked me, would you go back in the fall again? And it's like, yeah, I would totally want to, but I think if it was in the fall again, you know, based on if I got to qualify and who else was like a roll down or whatever, who got to go, I would totally let somebody else have the experience to go to Sweden in like late summer, fall. Like, you know, the fishing was good. You know, I get that. The people were incredible. But I think if I had the opportunity to trade that to somebody, to like, hey, you know, if I don't go, you get to go, and you've never went to Worlds, that was an unbelievable experience, and I think somebody could totally go. It was. I would totally go back in the spring, though. That, selfish or not, I would go back in the spring.
I wouldn't blame you. Well, man, dude, I just want to say, man, you know, you're on a roll right now. You know, congratulations on all your success. I know you're enjoying it. And, you know, we got to wrap up here soon. We've been on a little over an hour and 20 minutes. But I want to ask you one question, you know, before we jump off. And this is, you know, a lot of people probably sit at home and they ask themselves, like, man, what is Jordan doing to you know, what is he doing to have all the success, you know? And a lot of times you hear time on the water and stuff like that. And I know you could probably attribute a lot of your success to that as well. But, man, is there anything that, you know, any kind of advice that you could give people that are, you know, on the grind, wanting to become a better angler, wanting to learn, wanting to, you know, even become a better tournament angler, anything that you can give, you know, outside of that blanket statement? I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but time on the water, but anything that's kind of like helped you, you know, in your success.
I think it's what it boils down to is, I think you can become a lot better angler by either you go full into fishing tournaments and fully immersing yourself, knowing good and well you're going to lose for a little while. Fully immerse yourself, get some friends, have conversations with them, Go stay in these houses with 12 guys and just listen and become a sponge and try to learn. If you can't figure out how to catch fish, find people you trust and find guys that you can relate to and bounce ideas off of them. You can either do that or go the complete opposite and go fish every possible day you can. Don't sign up for tournaments. Don't sign up for online tournaments. Don't just go and fish and just try to learn things in a way that is unbiased and figure out what you're good at, what you like doing. And sometimes what you like doing may not be what you're good at. I don't like throwing a Cinco, but for whatever stupid reason, when I've picked up a Cinco this year, I have caught just stupid big fish. Like I don't know what it is. I don't like throwing a Cinco. For whatever reason, I think the last probably, 10 fish I've, like my 5, I literally think if you take my 6 biggest fish at Chick, the 5 I caught on the Cinco were 5 of the 6 biggest fish I caught.
Yeah,
like I don't know why that is that way,
dude,
but I know
it catches.
I know you have to at some point slow down. And I'm not good at that. But what I am and feel like I'm very good at and enjoy doing is going and figuring out a jackhammer bite. Why a silver blade, why a gold blade, why this trailer, why that trailer. And there's not a lot of stuff I get kind of scientific-y about, but, I literally have dozens and dozens. You can probably see these jackhammers hanging up back here on this wall. I've got just a bunch of jackhammers and a bunch of different colors, but at some point you have to kind of put a stop to the madness. I don't have 9 million sizes. I don't have the whole gamma. I literally buy all my jackhammers are ½ ounce. And if I need to slow down, then I need to slow down. If I need to speed up, then I can speed up. It's a balance of trying to find something you're comfortable with. That way you can buy a bunch of them. It gets cheaper that way, buying a bunch of them that are all the same. And it's a fine line of not overcomplicating things, but being comfortable. And that's where the sweet spot is. I literally had no H crate. I took an H crate out of my kayak for Pennsylvania because I knew I was going to be waiting and stuff. I didn't use an H crate, and I just took all of that tackle out. All the tackle I've had for the last month, even flying to Sweden, is literally what would fit in the front hatch, and half the front hatch is full of battery, and what fits in my center console in a box of jackhammers, and then like a bag of plastics. That's it. Nothing behind the seat. I've been bare minimum for 5 weeks now, and it's honestly, this has been the craziest 5 weeks of my life, fishing related, with all the places I've went, and I've caught fish in the grand scheme of things. I had a funky first day at Wolf and Fox River, and I had just kind of a weird day at Susquehanna where I caught a bunch of fish. I just didn't catch any size, which anyone that's seen that place knows that's not normal. And I wouldn't trade it. I do the exact same thing. But, and then to come to Chick and have, the best tournament that I've had, for really anything, just 2 days, my best 2-day limit ever, and not have just a ridiculous amount of stuff with me. There is a very fine line of comfort and confidence that just blends when you know what you're going to do with no practice.
Yeah. I like it, man. You hit the nail on the head. I can say, because you can take 10 guys, and they're all confident, or 10 guys and girls, and they're all confident in their own thing, and they can all go out and find a way to catch fish, doing what they enjoy doing, what they're confident and comfortable doing. So I like it, man. Appreciate you coming on again on the show. You're always a friend to the show. Enjoy it. Enjoy hearing and watching your success, man. All your travels and whatnot. It's been it's been awesome just witnessing that. So we're gonna end it with that. I know a lot of guys probably like got to get in bed or something, but man, I appreciate you coming on, dude. We're gonna call it on that one, and we look forward to having you back on, dude. And congratulations again.
Good job.
Gotcha. I appreciate you guys. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Later.
All right, guys. Y'all take care.
Later.